My financially dependent sister demanded I fund her lavish wedding after my Lotto win, so I took a very different path. My sister, Clara, has always had a knack for spending. Not just spending, but truly epic spending. Ever since we were children, it was clear that she viewed money as a bottomless resource, a concept I, having grown up in the same household with the same modest income, found utterly baffling. Our parents, bless their hearts, enabled her. Not maliciously, but out of a misguided sense of love and a profound inability to say no to their youngest daughter's increasingly extravagant whims. If Clara wanted a designer dress for a school dance, she got it. If she insisted on a specific, outrageously priced brand of anything, it appeared. I, on the other hand, learned early on the value of a dollar. I worked part-time jobs through high school and college, saved diligently, and always opted for the sensible, budget-friendly option. This created a dynamic where Clara saw me as boring or frugal to a fault, while I saw her as irresponsible and entitled. These underlying tensions simmered for years, occasionally bubbling over into arguments about shared expenses or parental favoritism, but never truly exploding. We maintained a semblance of sisterly affection, mostly out of habit and the unspoken societal expectation that families stick together. Then came the lottery. Not a mega jackpot, but a substantial win nonetheless. Enough to comfortably retire, pay off my mortgage, invest wisely, and live a life free from financial stress. It was a life-altering amount, a true game changer. I, being the cautious and private person I am, decided to keep it quiet. I confided only in my then-fiancé, Mark, who was equally thrilled and just as committed to keeping our good fortune under wraps. We had plans. Big plans. Plans that involved travel, a modest dream home, and ensuring our future children would never know the kind of financial anxieties I had experienced. We envisioned a comfortable, stable life, built on careful planning and smart choices, not on impulsive splurges. Our engagement had been a quiet affair, a simple proposal during a hike, followed by a celebratory dinner at our favorite local restaurant. We were planning a small, intimate wedding, nothing too fancy, just close family and friends. We had budgeted carefully, opting for a charming garden venue and a caterer known for their delicious, yet affordable, fare. We were excited about the simplicity of it all, focusing on the commitment and love rather than the spectacle. Clara, however, had always dreamed of a fairytale wedding. She had mood boards, Pinterest accounts overflowing with images of opulent ballrooms, designer gowns, and floral arrangements that looked like they belonged in a palace. She spoke about her future wedding with a fervor usually reserved for religious devotees. The problem? Her then-boyfriend, Liam, while a decent enough fellow, was not exactly rolling in money. He had a steady, respectable job, but it was nowhere near enough to fund Clara's vision. And Clara, despite her grand dreams, had absolutely no savings. Her philosophy had always been someone else will pay. The day I told my family about my engagement, Clara immediately launched into a monologue about her own wedding aspirations. "Oh, that's nice. My name," she said, barely concealing a yawn before turning to our mother. "Mom, remember that custom-designed dress I showed you? The one with the hand-stitched pearls? It's on sale for a limited time. We have to get it before it's gone." My parents, as usual, looked flustered but offered no real resistance. I just smiled tightly, Mark squeezing my hand under the table, a silent acknowledgement of the familiar family dynamic playing out before us. A few months later, Clara announced her own engagement. It was, predictably, a much grander affair than mine, even though it was completely unsponsored. Liam had proposed with a modest ring, which Clara openly complained about to anyone who would listen, always adding, "But it's okay, because the wedding will be spectacular." She immediately began planning, enlisting our mother as her chief assistant, demanding her time and emotional labor to research venues, caterers, and florists. The budget, or rather, the lack thereof, was a constant source of stress for Clara, which she externalized onto everyone around her. She'd frequently lament, within earshot of me, about how unfair it was that she couldn't have the wedding of her dreams. One evening, about a month before my own small wedding, Clara came over to my apartment, unannounced, carrying a stack of bridal magazines and a distressed expression. "I just don't know what to do," she wailed, collapsing onto my sofa. "This wedding is going to be a disaster. Liam's parents are contributing almost nothing, and mine." She trailed off, gesturing vaguely towards the ceiling as if our parents' modest finances were a personal affront to her. "They just don't understand the vision. I need a marquee tent, a live band, imported flowers, but it's also expensive. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I listened patiently, offering sympathetic noises but no actual solutions. I had learned long ago that offering solutions to Clara was like pouring water into a sieve. She wasn't looking for advice. She was looking for someone to solve her problems for her. After a long pause, she turned to me, her eyes suddenly bright with a predatory gleam. "You know," she began, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "you're doing that small wedding thing, right? Super low-key. You're probably saving a ton of money." I nodded, wary of where this was going. "So," she continued, her voice gaining confidence, "it wouldn't be a huge deal for you to just help me out a little, would it? You've always been so good with money, so responsible. You probably have a nice nest egg saved up. Just a small loan to help me get the caterer I want, or maybe the dream dress. I'd pay you back, of course." Her tone implied that "of course" was merely a formality that I felt a familiar wave of exasperation wash over me. This was classic Clara, always assuming I had endless resources, always expecting me to bail her out. I took a deep breath. "Clara, you know I'm paying for my own wedding, and Mark and I are saving for our future. I don't have extra money lying around to fund your wedding." This was technically true, as my lottery winnings were securely invested, and I was committed to living off my remaining pre-lottery savings until my investments matured. But she didn't need to know that. Clara's face hardened. "But you could if you wanted to. You're just being selfish. You never want to help me. What kind of sister are you?" The familiar accusations began, the well-worn script of her victimhood. I braced myself. "Clara, my finances are my own business. I'm not responsible for funding your wedding dreams." "But it's not fair," she practically shrieked. "You get to have a simple wedding because you choose to, and I'm stuck with a cheap, awful wedding because I can't afford anything else. It's not fair that you have all this money and you won't share it with your own sister." That last sentence stung. "All this money?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "What money are you talking about, Clara?" She faltered for a second, a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, before recovering with a dramatic sigh. "Oh, you know. Your savings. Your responsible little nest egg. It's just sitting there, doing nothing, while my dreams are crumbling." I shook my head. This conversation was going nowhere. "I'm sorry, Clara. I can't help you." She stormed out of my apartment, slamming the door, leaving me with a throbbing headache and a renewed sense of dread for her inevitable return. A few weeks later, Mark and I were enjoying a quiet dinner at home when the phone rang. It was my mother, her voice trembling. "Oh, my name. Something terrible has happened. Your father and I just don't know what to do. Clara's wedding. It's falling apart." I sighed. "What now, Mother?" "The venue just called," she sobbed. "They're cancelling. Clara hasn't made any payments, and they said they can't hold the date any longer. And the caterer, the florist, everyone is backing out. She's distraught." "Well, what did she expect, Mother? She can't expect people to hold dates and services indefinitely without payment." "But she said she was going to pay them. She just needed a little more time." My mother's blind faith in Clara was truly astounding. "Mother, Clara has known about these payment deadlines for months. This is entirely her own doing." "But the wedding, it's only 2 months away. What are we going to do? Your father and I don't have that kind of money. You know that. We've tried to help, but Clara's dreams are just too big." Then came the inevitable request. "Couldn't you just help her out, dear? Just a small loan to get things back on track? She's your sister." I closed my eyes, picturing the secure investment accounts, the untouched lottery winnings. A small loan would be nothing to me, but it would be everything to Clara, a validation of her irresponsible behavior, a continuation of the cycle. I thought about all the times I had sacrificed, saved, and planned, while Clara simply demanded. I thought about the subtle digs, the jealous remarks, the way she always made me feel small for my sensible choices. "No, Mother," I said, my voice firm. "I cannot. This is Clara's responsibility. She needs to learn that actions have consequences. If she wants a grand wedding, she needs to find a way to pay for it herself." My mother burst into tears. "You're being cruel. How can you do this to your own sister? She's heartbroken." I'm being realistic, Mother. And frankly, I'm tired of always being the one expected to pick up the pieces for Clara's extravagant choices." I hung up the phone, my heart heavy but my resolve unshakable. Mark put his arm around me. "You did the right thing," he said softly. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of drama. Clara called me, screaming, accusing me of sabotaging her wedding, calling me a heartless witch. Our father even called, in his usually gentle way, to try and reason with me, appealing to my family loyalty. I remained steadfast. My parents, in a desperate attempt to salvage some semblance of the wedding Clara envisioned, dipped into their retirement savings to secure a much smaller, much less extravagant venue and a basic catering package. Clara, of course, complained incessantly about the downgrade, making my parents feel even worse. My own wedding day arrived, a beautiful, sunny afternoon in the garden. It was everything Mark and I had wanted, intimate, joyful, and filled with genuine love. Clara was there, of course, looking sullen and making pointed remarks about the simplicity of it all. "It's nice, I guess," she'd sniff to anyone who would listen, "if you're into that whole minimalist thing." I ignored her, focusing on Mark and the wonderful people who truly celebrated our union. A few months after my wedding, the drama surrounding Clara's wedding reached a fever pitch. After numerous last-minute cancellations, arguments with vendors, and a near meltdown over a mismatched shade of blush tablecloths, the wedding finally limped its way to existence. It was nowhere near the grand affair Clara had envisioned, a pale shadow of her Pinterest boards, but it happened. And then, less than 6 months later, Liam filed for divorce. Turns out, the financial strain of Clara's dream wedding had completely broken him. He had taken out personal loans to cover costs Clara had insisted upon, loans that she had absolutely no intention of helping him repay. He had gone into significant debt, all for a day that, by all accounts, Clara still found disappointing. The final straw came when Clara insisted on furnishing their new apartment with only high-end, designer items, despite Liam's pleas to be more sensible. He found himself drowning in debt, working extra shifts, while Clara continued to spend as if money grew on trees. He finally realized that Clara's spending habits were not just a phase, but an intrinsic part of her personality, and that she would never change. He wanted out. The divorce was messy, as expected. Clara, suddenly facing the reality of financial independence, was completely unprepared. She had never managed her own money, never paid her own bills, never considered the consequences of her spending. She moved back in with our parents, who, once again, took her in, though this time with a visible weariness in their eyes. The once perfect family image that our parents had so carefully cultivated around Clara was beginning to crack. Around this time, Mark and I quietly started making our own moves. We purchased our dream home, a beautiful, secluded property with a large garden, exactly what we had always envisioned. We paid for it in cash. We began traveling, taking extended trips to places we had only dreamed of. We lived comfortably, responsibly, enjoying our newfound freedom without a shred of ostentation. It was during one of our travel adventures, a 3-week trip through Southeast Asia, that the news finally broke. I had posted a picture on social media, a stunning panoramic shot of a pristine beach, casually mentioning that we were enjoying a well-deserved break. I rarely posted about our financial situation, always opting for vague captions that didn't reveal too much. But this time, something about the sheer beauty of the location, coupled with my relaxed demeanor, must have triggered something. My phone, which I rarely checked while traveling, suddenly exploded with notifications. Missed calls from my mother, father, and even Clara. Urgent text messages, increasingly frantic in tone. I finally checked one from my mother. "Please call me. It's urgent. We need to talk about Clara." I reluctantly called her, preparing for another drama. Her voice was strained, almost accusatory. "My name. Where are you? Why haven't you been answering your phone? Your sister needs you." "I'm on vacation, Mother, and I'm not sure what Clara could possibly need from me now." Then came the bombshell. "Your father and I, we found out about your lottery winnings. How could you keep such a secret from us?" Her voice was laced with betrayal. My blood ran cold. How had they found out? I had been so careful. "What are you talking about, Mother?" I feigned ignorance, though my heart was pounding. "Don't lie to me. Your father saw a news article, a small local paper, buried in the archives, but it mentioned your name, your full name, and the amount. How could you not tell us?" "Ah, the local paper. I had almost forgotten about the mandatory press release. I had hoped it would be obscure enough to go unnoticed. Clearly, I had underestimated Clara's relentless pursuit of anything that might benefit her. She must have been digging, searching, driven by her recent financial woes and her deeply ingrained belief that wealth was something to be acquired, not earned. "It was my private business, Mother," I said, my voice now completely devoid of emotion. "It had nothing to do with anyone else." "But it's family money now," she shrieked. "You have so much. And Clara, she's struggling. She's lost everything. You have to help her." "I don't have to do anything, Mother. And it's not family money. It's my money. And Clara lost everything because of her own choices, not because of anything I did or didn't do." My mother's voice dropped to a desperate plea. "But she needs a fresh start. She needs to get back on her feet. She's talking about starting her own boutique, but she has no capital. You could fund her. You could make all her dreams come true." I scoffed. "And what about my dreams, Mother? The dreams I worked for, saved for, and now, finally, can achieve? Am I supposed to sacrifice those for Clara's latest impulsive venture?" "But she's your sister. Family helps family." This was the classic refrain, always trotted out when Clara was in trouble. Family helps family, yes, but family also takes responsibility for their own lives. I've spent my entire life watching Clara make irresponsible choices, knowing that you and Father would always bail her out. I'm not doing it. Not anymore. My mother hung up on me, clearly furious. Then came the barrage of calls and texts from Clara herself, even more venomous than usual. "You selfish cow. You're hoarding all that money while I'm practically destitute. How can you live with yourself? You owe me. You owe us. I deserve a piece of that. You wouldn't have one if it wasn't for family karma." Her texts were increasingly unhinged, spiraling into accusations of betrayal, greed, and even veiled threats that I block her number. Then I blocked my parents' numbers. Mark, who had been listening to the entire exchange, simply squeezed my hand. "It's time," he said. "Time to truly live for ourselves." We extended our trip, turning our plan 3 weeks into 2 glorious months, deliberately ignoring the digital chaos unfolding back home. We explored ancient temples, hiked through lush rainforests, swam in turquoise waters, and savored every moment of our freedom. The distance, both geographical and emotional, allowed me to truly process the years of resentment, the burden of being the responsible sister, and the overwhelming relief of finally shedding that weight when we finally returned home, our new house, purchased and furnished while we were away by a trusted real estate agent and interior designer, felt like a sanctuary. It was beautiful, peaceful, and utterly ours. No ghosts of past family dramas, no expectations, just the quiet hum of a life we had built for ourselves, on our own terms. The silence from my family was deafening, initially. Then, a few weeks later, a letter arrived. Not an email, not a text, but an actual, physical letter, addressed in my mother's familiar, slightly shaky handwriting. I opened it with trepidation. It was a plea, a long, rambling letter filled with guilt trips, emotional blackmail, and, predictably, more demands. Clara's boutique idea had crashed and burned, unsurprisingly, as she had no business acumen whatsoever and still expected others to fund her impulsive decisions. She was now deeply in debt, relying solely on our parents, who were themselves nearing financial ruin trying to support her. The letter ended with a desperate plea for me to do the right thing and save your sister from herself. I read the letter, my heart utterly unmoved. I finally understood that saving Clara from herself was an impossible task, because Clara had no desire to be saved. She had no desire to change. She genuinely believed she was entitled to a life of luxury, regardless of her own efforts. And I, by consistently bailing her out or feeling guilty for not doing so, had been a complicit part of that destructive cycle that I folded the letter neatly and placed it in the shredder. Mark and I are now living a life I once only dreamed of. We volunteer, we support causes we believe in, and we are planning to start a family. We have a small, carefully curated circle of friends who genuinely care about us, not our bank account. We maintain minimal contact with my parents, primarily through email, keeping conversations strictly superficial. Clara, I hear through the grapevine, is still living with our parents, still blaming everyone but herself for her misfortunes. She sends me an occasional email or tries to call from an unknown number, but I simply block them. The The truth is, while the lottery win gave me the financial freedom to escape, it also gave me something far more valuable: the courage to finally set boundaries, to say no, and to prioritize my own well-being over the endless demands of my sister's entitled existence. It taught me that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their own actions. And the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from a toxic dynamic, even if it's family. I finally understand that family doesn't mean enabling destructive behavior. It means having the courage to protect yourself and build the life you deserve. And that's exactly what I'm doing.